Space Needle. An architecturally daring structure, imaginative, beautiful. From its inception, it was destined to become world famous. What kind of a city would give rise to such a surprisingly different tower? Seattle, inland seaport, industrial and cultural center of the rapidly growing Pacific Northwest, situated attractively on the shores of Puget Sound. It's a city of nearly 1 million urban and suburban residents dwelling on scenic hills and saltwater bluffs and lake shores. It's an impatient, forward-minded city where men like to look to the future. It's a place where engineers have conceived revolutionary new concepts in aircraft and space equipment, where frozen foods and mall-type shopping centers were pioneered, where floating bridges were perfected. It's a center of higher education and scientific research, of hardy fishermen who put out to sea. It's a city surrounded by craggy mountains with glaciers jutting upward from evergreen slopes, fresh with inspiration. Some of this inspiration, some of the Western ingenuity and love of beauty has been brought into focus in the unique Space Needle, which now crowns the city and which has become its foremost attraction. 607 feet high, the Space Needle, with its revolving circular restaurant, is a breathtaking observation port on tall, slender legs, gracefully flared. The erection of the supporting structure was an outstanding feat of steel construction done in record time for the opening of the 1962 Seattle World's Fair. But the tower is deep-rooted for permanency. In this maze of structural steel reinforcing, 5,600 tons of concrete were buried in the ground to anchor the needle, which put the center of gravity of the spire below ground level for absolute stability. Down these troughs, 30 feet to the bottom, went the largest continuous building concrete pour in the West. This cluster of 30-foot-long anchor bolts, when cased in concrete, will become the root of one of the tower's 6 paired leg columns, to be attached to the bolt ends here above ground. Great steel trusses arrive to be fitted end on end 500 feet straight up for a central core of the tower. No crane could reach such a height with the heavy steel, so they devise one that fits into the triangular core itself, to go up with it, building around itself as it goes. Steel workers, the most skilled in the nation, are eager to tackle the extraordinary job. Massive steel pedestals go into place for a pair of leg columns. The columns are 3-sided, made of triple I-beams weighing a half-ton per foot. They reach upward to the first 100-foot goal, with a promise of what is yet to come. At 200 feet, an unfinished leg points straight on up at 400 more feet to go. It takes a strong heart and a steady nerve to work on the high-altitude crew. A 50-ton leg dangling like a toothpick has to fit to a fraction of an inch. They're fishing for it now, pulling it into place. Once they have it, the bolting crew, hanging on to nothing, will have to drive 300 bolts to make the splice. The needle is built to stay. The tower is a tripod now, converging at its narrow waist. It's a dizzying view down, but this slender waist is the secret of both the beauty and the unusual construction of the Space Needle. Above it, the three pairs of legs separate into 6 long arms spreading outward and upward to hold the top house, a triumph in architectural design. But for the steel worker, it's a long, long way down to earth. And a long way back up. You arrive for duty at the 500-foot level. If your knees are a little shaky, you keep it to yourself. The job is to put a piece of the restaurant ring into place. It's a 40-ton section of steel. Already attached are the radial vanes that will form part of the sunburst at the base of the restaurant floor. The revolving floor will turn on these vanes. You have to be out on the end. Oop, careful. It's a ticklish, painstaking business. You step with some care along the girders of the near-completed restaurant ring. One step is 500 feet down. The fitting is done from small scaffolds with massive bolts to join it together. In 6 months, they built the steel structure of the Space Needle, a remarkable piece of engineering seemingly endlessly up, past the critical goal of the restaurant ring, to the astonishing 5-story multi-disc top house which rests upon it. In 4 more months, that was furnished and complete. It's a thing of beauty. Above the sunburst of radial vanes, an encircling halo ring of red, 138 feet in diameter, extends from the mezzanine level. Between are the restaurant windows, outward sloping to the view. Still higher are the observation deck and the upper floors of machinery and equipment under a pagoda-like roof. Atop that, a 50-foot spire. Up in the sky, the needle beckons. Now, let's go up. The 3 space capsule outside elevators climb each of the 3 sides of the triangular core. Through the view windows, you can see the ground dropping away at 800 feet per minute. Downtown Seattle to the south is receding by the second. Below, the monorail is bringing more guests from the city center. It takes just 43 seconds to get to the top house, to an experience for young and old alike, not soon to be forgotten. You're strolling on the observation deck. The situation is nowhere duplicated among the world's highest structures. The slender but rock-steady legs of the tower tucked out of sight below you, a sheer 518 feet down, the cityscape stretching outward in all directions. It's a wonderful panorama. Past populated hills and lakes and fingers of water are evergreen forests and a rim of distant snow-capped peaks, the Olympics, the Cascades. You're looking over Lake Union, nature planted in the center of the city, part of the big ship canal that connects Puget Sound with Lake Washington. To the south is the crescent of Elliott Bay, the port of Seattle, the city mounting from its shores. Seattle is a picture card among cities, and the Space Needle is the camera lens. Children are delighted, teenagers impressed, adults made young in spirit. The enclosed area of the observation deck is a hub of activity with souvenir shops, snack bar, great windows. These visitors have come to see not only the Needle, but also the exceptional group of attractions which comprise Seattle's Century 21 Center, the Sports Coliseum, convention and exhibit halls, amusements, gardens, opera house and playhouse, the magnificent Science Center, fountains. Over it all, splendidly spectacular, stands the Space Needle, startling in the daylight, enchanting by night. Dining at the Needle has become a must for every Seattle visitor. There's an elegance to the occasion, an atmosphere of excitement. The decor is rich in brown and persimmon and gold. The Space Needle restaurant has become internationally known for fine food and service, but there is an added difference. The restaurant ring is slowly revolving around the central area, which contains the kitchen and elevators. There's an exhilaration in this dining while smoothly circling. There's a magic in the motion, a sense of floating on air, surveying all without effort. The city, multi-jeweled in the night. In an hour, your table will have completed a full 360-degree circuit. The room is moving on bearings so finely balanced that it takes only a 1-horsepower motor for the turning. It seems more a cruise, fascinating in every aspect. It's a dreamlike setting from a dreamlike vantage point. Harbors, mountains, the picturesque beauty of the Pacific Northwest. It was the allure of this region that called into being the unique structure which is now Seattle's permanent symbol in the sky, the Space Needle.